Space officials have set November 9th as the tentative launch date for the third manned Skylab mission. That's 6 weeks after the astronauts on the current mission are scheduled to return.
The space agency announced today that the next 3 Skylab astronauts will be launched on November 10th as scheduled, and that they may stay up for as long as 85 days. The agency said rocket fuel tanks that buckled have now been repaired.
NASA announced today that the Skylab 3 launch will go ahead as scheduled on November 10th. It found no structural damage to rocket fuel tanks that had caved in Tuesday.
The rocket and spacecraft for the next Skylab mission were given a launch test today at Cape Canaveral. It was successful, and everything is moving forward for a blastoff 1 week from tomorrow.
The Skylab 3 launch, scheduled for Saturday, was postponed today until next Thursday at the earliest. The space agency said tiny cracks were discovered last night in several of the stabilizing fins on the first stage of the Saturn rocket. The fins must be replaced before launch.
The Skylab 3 launch, scheduled for Saturday, today had to be postponed at least until next Thursday after tiny cracks were discovered in the fins of the Saturn launch rocket. NASA officials said the hairline cracks were the result of age, stress loads, and corrosion in the 7-year-old rocket. The defective fins will be replaced. NASA said that the cracked fins could have caused the rocket to break up on launch. More cracks have been found in the Skylab Saturn rocket, and the launch of its 3 astronauts again has been postponed. The new cracks were found in 7 of 8 structural beams in the rocket, and authorities called off the planned Thursday launch. There's a possibility for a Friday liftoff now, but that, the officials say, is iffy. They're going to try to repair the new cracks in the 7-year-old rocket, and if they can't do that, a delay of weeks may be needed.
At Cape Canaveral today, inspectors found more suspected cracks in the Saturn 1B rocket to be used in the Skylab 3 mission, causing another delay in the launch. The earliest possible launch date now is Friday.
The launch of Skylab 3 has been delayed at least until Friday, and possibly longer, because of the possibility of cracks in the booster rocket. The launch had been scheduled for last Saturday, then was postponed until this Thursday because of cracks in the rocket's fins before today's announcement of the additional delay. The space agency today cleared the Skylab 3 rocket for launch on Friday morning, and NBC will cover it live. The start of the mission had been delayed twice because of tiny cracks in the rocket.
Cape Canaveral today, engineers activated the Saturn rocket that will launch the Skylab 3 astronauts into space on Friday. An 85-day mission is planned. The launch was postponed twice because of cracks found in parts of the rocket. Some of the cracks remain, but NASA said today there does not appear to be any danger.
From that launch pad tomorrow morning, 3 rookie astronauts, leaving their 13 children behind, take off to spend Christmas orbiting the Earth. Their mission, man's longest stay in the hostile environment of space. Skylab 3, an open-ended flight that could last as long as 3 months. Today, the crew unwound by flying jets through the sunny Florida skies. For Gerald Carr and William Pogue and Edward Gibson, it's been a long wait. 7 years in the astronaut program for Carr and Pogue, 8 years for scientist Gibson. 2 final delays caused by cracks in the launch rocket, and it's waited for 8 years too. But astronauts and space officials are confident now of an on-time 9 a.m. start for a mission crowded with experiments measuring the crew's physical responses and giving man the best view he's ever had of a visitor from outer space. A close-up look at the comet Kohoutek, now burning a fiery trail through our planetary system. Also, many, many photographs of Sun and Earth to advance man's knowledge of both. Morton Dean has a report.
Some 160,000 Skylab photos of the Earth and Sun are on file now. Tens of thousands more to be recorded on this coming mission. It could take a decade or longer for scientists to conduct a thorough analysis of the photos. One Earth resource scientist claims he could spend 1 year on one picture and not run out of points of interest.
Okay, now we're going up the valley. Now we're going up through the Shenandoah Valley and approaching Harrisburg.
Ordinary road map helps to identify the Skylab photos before making them available to the public and to scientists who might be interested in such things as the effects of clear-cutting timber, shown as the purple patches in this Skylab photo of the Pinchot National Forest. This infrared view indicating what and how much is growing in California's Imperial Valley, or the flow of sediment from the Colorado River into the Gulf of California. We asked Dr. Robert Caldwell to describe some of what he sees on one photo.
The high infrared reflectance manifested by the red coloration here indicates a dense growth of hardwood trees. At higher elevation, we see a different coloration, which is indicative of the commercially valuable coniferous trees. And in each of these places, we can tell something of the density of the vegetation covering the area, and therefore its economic importance. We also can see in areas such as these the presence of snow and make a better prediction of the amount of water that eventually will travel down this system and be impounded in this reservoir, the better to generate hydroelectric power, provide water for irrigation, and from this information minimize the difficulties that would arise if we didn't impound the water properly and had flood problems.
Stranger and more unusual than Skylab's views of the Earth are its pictures of the sun. X-ray and ultraviolet, still, and motion pictures, man's closest look yet at the sun, unobscured by the Earth's atmosphere.
A bright light area implies the emission of X-rays or ultraviolet radiation, which implies elevated temperatures and densities in that region. So that could be considered a tube of material, and by studying the motion of that material or tube, then we understand the motion of particles and fields around the sun.
In a way, the question then is, it's not a proper question to say, what does it mean to the man in the street, to the average taxpayer? It really has little meaning to him as of the moment. I think that's the key, as of the moment. But let's all think that we're smart enough and that the future generations are smart enough to actually apply some of this basic knowledge and actually benefit man.
Tomorrow's weather outlook, good, mild temperatures, partly cloudy. Our first report on the CBS Morning News, continuous coverage at 8:45 a.m. Eastern Time. This is Walter Cronkite, CBS News, Kennedy Space Center.
Tomorrow's space launch at Cape Canaveral will be the last American manned space flight until 1975. The Skylab 3 astronauts are scheduled to lift off at 1 minute after 9 o'clock Eastern Time tomorrow morning for a record 85-day stay in space.
The Skylab astronauts, Carr, Pogue, and Gibson, made final preparations today for their blast-off tomorrow morning from the Kennedy Space Center. NBC News will carry the launch live on radio and television. Coverage begins at 8:55 in the morning Eastern Time. Problems with the Saturn rocket caused 2 delays in the mission, but a Skylab official declared today the bird is ready for flight. The astronauts made training flights today in jet planes. If all goes well, they'll stay up for 84 days, a lot longer than the crews in either of the 2 previous missions.